things that were written 50 years ago sort of come to pass 50 years into the future. And John, in many ways, sort of helped shape what we think things would look like in the future, and we sort of wanted to help show that off.
BusinessJournalDaily.com 3 Minutes With is brought to you by Farmers National Bank.
Save, borrow, and invest with Farmers. Take heart knowing you're helping create a strong community. Mind your money at Farmers. Talk directly to local decision makers about your loans, investments, and insurance. Farmers. Fiercely local, fiercely loyal.
This exhibit sort of came about because we were thinking about making a traveling exhibit with the props to promote the upcoming Museum of Science Fiction and Fantasy Arts. But at the same time, the Medici was transitioning from their Rockwell collection. It just seemed to be like a perfect marriage and near where the Museum of Science Fiction will be. The exhibit will be here for about 6 months. So it starts on January 24th and will go until June 29th. Ballpark, there's roughly a little over 90 pieces in the exhibit, and we fully anticipate them to be on display that whole amount of time. This is for the first time, as we know, that they've been displayed in an art museum, especially in Ohio, in a large scale. So it's a really wonderful opportunity, not only for them to be seen aesthetically, but to put them in a context, and then also promote what we're trying to build in Warren, Ohio.
Seeing it in this venue, I think Caitlin and her crew, honestly, I've been in a lot of museums. I think they did a phenomenal job. I think that compositionally, each room is about as perfect as could be. And the pieces work in the room, the lighting is fantastic. If you live in this area, you're very lucky to have a museum like this. This is something you might see, in Los Angeles or New York. I mean, it's really an amazing place.
I think it was instrumental to have the Historical Society kind of come into us and bring us this idea, and immediately that kind of got my gears turning, and I was like, oh, this is an incredible opportunity. And from there, I mean, I pounced and I wanted to really showcase John's talent. I mean, the talent behind this stuff is absolutely incredible, and I think we're honored to have his work here. There's something incredible and fascinating about everything here, and I think one of the things that grabbed my attention as soon as I went to the warehouse to investigate all the objects that we were potentially going to showcase, I think it was the Men in Black chairs. I mean, that was my generation growing up, and I immediately latched onto those, and I was like, oh my gosh, like I'm right here with these, and I just went in there with a smile on my face, just like I am now, and it was so fun just going around and picking out things that I wanted to kind of showcase.
If you know anything about props, in a given movie, if the prop lasts the length of the movie, you're very lucky. I said to these guys, we'll do an official business, and I'm going to design the props so they last a minimum of 20 years of abuse. And most of everything you're looking at is over 40 years old. There's a piece in the back. It's been dubbed, it wasn't called by me. There's a fellow supposedly in Belgium, some sort of science fiction aficionado who's like, knows everything, right? He started posting these videos on YouTube. There was one that was called, it was 8 minutes long. It was called The Most Important Device in the Universe. Right. So that is what I call it now, because I love the name. So I think he was probably fairly proud of himself that he figured out that it was in 10 movies. Well, that machine's been in over 200. Unbeknownst to me, there must be something about that machine, I don't know what it is, that resonated with a lot of art directors and directors since roughly 1980.
The challenging aspect was, okay, so how do we want to display these? Do we want to display them in a thematic way? And I think it came down to, okay, I want these to be categorized by film. And I mean, a lot of these have been in hundreds of films. And so it made it a little bit challenging. All right, well, which film do we represent these objects with? And that was honestly one of the more fun parts about this installation. This is the superhero section. So he has an extensive list of movies that were in Marvel franchise and the DC franchise. So I wanted to kind of pick out some of the objects that, I felt were pretty prominent. And the superhero section is what most fans are familiar with. I think that was kind of how the pieces fell into place.
One thing is definitely an appreciation for John's props, not just as props in movies, but as aesthetic pieces of art, right? That's one of the reasons we chose to have the museum or the exhibit here is it's as an art museum. It's a really wonderful setting to appreciate his works as works of art. And the other thing is just how creative these pieces are, the time, energy, effort, and what that speaks to about the nature of science fiction, right? How things that were written 50 years ago sort of come to pass 50 years into the future. And John, in many ways, sort of helped shape what we think things would look like in the future, and we sort of wanted to help show that off.
BusinessJournalDaily.com 3 Minutes With is brought to you by Farmers National Bank.
Save, borrow, and invest with Farmers. Take heart knowing you're helping create a strong community. Mind your money at Farmers. Talk directly to local decision makers about your loans, investments, and insurance. Farmers. Fiercely local, fiercely loyal.